Yeah. All right. I don't really know where to start. What's up, all you cool kids? Mark with Vocalist Academy here, and today we are talking about a heavily requested vocalist. We are going to be talking about Worm Shepherd. Accursed is the name of the song, and Devin Duarte is the vocalist. Now, I know that Worm Shepherd had a song released just recently at the time of this recording. I think it was like a week or two ago, and I was going to do that, but then a lot of times, specifically when people request Worm Shepherd, they request this song. So I was like, let's do it. So we're going to break this down. We're going to do what we do best on this channel, which is to take the reaction format, break it down, have some fun, but also focus on learning something too. We're going to learn something together. So hopefully when you walk away from this, not only did you have a good time, but you know a little bit more about vocals as well. Now, if you enjoy the content, let us know in the comments below. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Hit the bell so that you can see our videos more frequently, if that's what you want. And we do have a Patreon. If you really enjoy the content and you really want to support the channel, check out our Patreon. We've got an awesome Discord, tons of really cool people. We have community events, listening parties every Friday. So it's a great time. We have a really good time. Let's get into it here. I'm gonna go vocal coach mode because that's what I do. That's what I do. I teach people how to make sounds like this. So let's teach people how to make sounds like this, or at least take our best stab at it. Let's go. Okay, we're gonna stop here because that's gonna be that. Whoa. I can already tell some stuff to talk about. So a couple really cool things I'm hearing. First, that opening scream. Before anything, I really like where these vocals are sitting, right? This has a very strong black metal vibe, and when I think black metal, I think vocals that are layered and sort of pushed back a little bit farther than normally maybe deathcore vocals would be. In fact, I prefer vocals that are at least mixed in with the instruments or maybe even a little bit behind. That's just my personal preference. So having him right in with the instruments versus, you know, dead in front is a little bit more to my taste, and I think it's working really well here. So at the beginning, we had a really cool layer. I don't know how many layers, but we had some layers of just like a good tunnel throat sound, and we could hear him sort of moving his lips around. I don't love the term tunnel throat just because I don't think it really describes what's going on in any way at all. But that's fine. It's the name and we'll use it. But he's doing it really well. So with our tunnel throat sounds, we're just trying to kind of create an echoey chamber in our voice for sound to roll around before it leaves our face, right? We want the sound waves to roll around, to move around in the mouth before they escape. So like if I took like a normal, just like, I don't know, just like a normal false chord, if I take that sound and I curl my tongue, there are all sorts of different ways we can do it. We can do it this way. We can do it this way. We can do it this way. What I'm doing is I'm creating a little pocket of air under my tongue in each instance. So here, the pocket's in front. Here, the pocket is in the side. And you can hear when I talk. You can hear the echoey chamber that's in my speaking voice. So when we take these sounds, that's the technique, just a false chord. Let all these different sounds. And he's kind of pulsing his lips around to kind of create this snarly, animalistic, which is really, really neat. I like that. His highs are really good too. So his highs are super up there, right? And a lot of the way that we do that is we can take sort of our simple false chord sound, and we can slowly raise the tongue and activate our nasal space. So if I take a high scream and I switch it with my speaking voice, you can hear that I'm right here and it sounds so dumb. It sounds so dumb. But if I take my high or a mid, nice, forward, relaxed, supported by my abdominal muscles, and I move it to like, what's up, doc? Hey, what's up, doc? Hey, what's up, doc? Hey, what's up, doc? We kind of get that sound. And it's really, really cool. Let's keep going, though, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to talk about. That's the punch your buddy section right there. That's a lot. That is a lot going at once. So we've got the same technique of lows being articulated two separate ways, right? And you can tell he's very relaxed and he's doing it very well. So like if I take a simple false chord sound, like a low, and I raise it slightly and engage the top of my larynx. Now this is not where you want to start with your metal vocals. Nothing this guy's doing is what I would say is like beginner level, although sometimes I don't like thinking about it that way. But I would say you need to know your fundamentals first, your false chord fundamentals, your fry fundamentals, anything really, before you attempt this. But if I take that false chord low and I sort of raise and tighten it, I get sort of that sound. At the beginning, it sounded like he was sort of like pushing and pulsing air through it. We had a lot of that articulating his cymbals. And then after that, we had a really cool way of articulation. A lot of lip movement and the tongue curled and held back pretty much as far as it could comfortably go. So I'm still doing the same sound, the same false chord technique under it. And getting a lot of those cool noises. Let's keep going, though. I want to talk more about his articulation, but there's a lot of song left, so let's keep going. One reason his highs sound so good is he's playing the deathcore game really well, and the deathcore game is all mouth shape and vowel control, right? If you want to be like this type of deathcore, and I get that this isn't like straight deathcore, blackened deathcore, or whatever, but if you want to have like this sort of vocal style, understanding the way that vowels feel in your mouth and having really exaggerated weird mouth shapes that are not exaggerated to the point of being strained, like a strain, right? But you can hear when he's saying his highs, like let's say he said the word unending. I don't know if he does or not, but let's say he said the word unending. Unending. He would probably pronounce it in a clean voice. Unending. 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 See how tight that unending suffering, right? The tight vowels are what make it kind of pop up into that higher space. If I said unending, closer to like actual spoken articulation, unending, it sounds great, but it's not doesn't have that bite. Unending, right? A little bit more bite to that. Also on his tunnels, one thing he's doing that's really cool is he's letting his soft palate occasionally dip down and touch the back of his tongue, right? So if I have my normal tunnel sound, right, that's your sound. If I let it drop the soft palate just loosely touch, not press, but loosely touch the back of my tongue, it'll create a really flappy sort of animalistic noise. See how it's got a little bit of snarl? Yeah, he's killing it. He's killing it. So I forgot to mention that this song features Alex Kohler, and I think I just heard his section start. I want to pause it and go back. Alex Kohler, in case you don't know, I'd be surprised. Alex Kohler is the OG vocalist of Chelsea Grin, and one of the vocalists who got me into deathcore and death metal vocals. So I know we talk vocals here, but shout out to the other members of this band. I love how the drummer is super surgical, super tight, keeping us in that black metal vibe. But then we have the guitars getting a little bit more like death metal-y, right? That's super sick. I love that. Let's go back a little bit and let's listen for Alex Kohler's part to come in. I'm going to go back about 30 seconds here. There are a couple really cool things to talk about here. First, we'll talk about Devin, then we'll talk about Alex. But so just to kind of reiterate something I was saying about before, a lot of Devin's like mids here, from what I'm hearing, there's a lot going on. But from what I'm hearing, you could approach this by taking your high, letting the resonance sort of move down into your mouth. No, I think he's approaching it. I think he's approaching it as a low and moving it up more towards a mid. There we go. He's got that tongue curled and sort of chewing on those vocals. This is also a good example, now talking about Alex, this is also a good example of how two people can do very similar techniques but sound very, very different. So Devin has, in this song, done some of these mids, like those sounds. Alex is doing the same thing. His distortion's a little looser, and I mean that in a good way. Loose and tight distortion can both be good in the right context. He's got a little true voice coming in through there, and he's a little bit more airy. Not to the point where I would say he's too breathy. I think a little airiness on metal vocals sounds phenomenal. But he and Devin have done the same, like, sort of high dropped to a mid. Right? But they sound very, very different. So the reason I'm pointing this out is because sometimes we do the same technique as somebody else and we sound super different. And rather than being like, yeah, I'm a different human with a different shaped head, that seems reasonable, we like get too caught up in sounding exactly like someone. I mean, think of it this way. And actually out there sitting in YouTube world, repeat after me. Hi, I like metal vocals. We just use the same technique, but we sound super different, right? True chord phonation. Hi, my name is Mark and I like metal vocals, or whatever your name is. I like metal vocals. We sound like two completely different humans, right? Why do we have that expectation for clean singing in our speaking voice? But then that expectation stops and people post their vocals and, you know, sometimes they get verbally beat up a little bit because it's like, bro, you're not like pulling off that sound. Like that's totally not the same thing. And it's like, no, it's the same thing. I got a different shaped head than you, right? I've seen some of that sometimes. And so if people are getting down on you because you don't sound like a carbon copy, don't let them. Don't let them. Anyways, let's keep going. Yeah. All right. I don't really know where to start. This is a good reaction, by the way. This is what's happening here. This is a good thing. It's just a lot in that section. I want to talk about the highs. Then we're going to listen to that again, and I'm just going to kind of process those lows a little bit, and then we're going to talk about those. There's some fundamentals going on, some airflow manipulation that's really, really cool, right? I think the highs were here. Yeah. So these highs are very, very cool. A lot of the times when we do high vocals and when we're learning high vocals, we have these goblin faces and we use this goblin positioning, right? Once we can control that distortion and hold the place with the back of our tongue, keeping that space nice and thin and relaxed but engaged, right? We don't have to rely on that face anymore, right? And it can allow some really very cool narrating sections. You can sort of storytell and really get into character without a lot of effort, right? You can do a lot of really cool stuff, kind of Carrick Angren-y, which makes sense because this song, you know, has a little bit of a Carrick Angren vibe. And he's doing that really, really well. Loose tongue, loose lips. Sometimes you'll get a little spitty, right? Because if you still have your tonsils, the shaking of the tonsils, at least this is what my ENT told me, the shaking of the tonsils can stimulate saliva production. So as long as you're not getting phlegm and gook coming up from the vocal folds, which can sometimes be a response to like vocal fold damage in the moment. If it's saliva coming from up here, you're fine. Just think about it. But yeah, that narration style he's got here is really, really cool. Let's really process this. Okay, so rather than talk about each individual section, I'm going to talk about some tricks of the trade that I'm hearing. First of all, it sounds awesome. So we've got a nice, solid, underneath everything you're hearing is this, right? You can approach this as a fry low as well. Like, if you're out there and you're like, I don't do false chords, oh no, that means I can't do this. Like, no, like Dan Watson, he's 99% fry vocals and he gets low and sounds crazy. So you don't have to do it this way. But you have your distortion underneath, right? Right? Now, a lot of these vocals, I'd be willing to bet if I was in the studio with him and I was just hanging out and watching him record, they wouldn't be that loud. I'm willing to bet that they would not be that loud. So we've got a couple sounds here, right? And the way that I'm doing that is I'm just sort of, I'm sort of pulling my chin back, pointing my upper lip to get kind of a weird like airflow over my tongue, which is curled. Right? And I can slowly add airflow. Right? And I can articulate my syllables that way. And it sounds really, really cool. Then we had another vocal. I actually want to listen for it one more time. Yeah, you can hear it right there, that airflow manipulation. It's also important to say we've got multiple vocal layers going on. This is not one vocal layer. So if you're out there and you're like, why can't I make that high sound and the low sound at the same time? That's why. Yeah. So that sound is very much an O vowel. Like we take a O vowel, O, and I'm going to curl my tongue and I'm going to slide that sucker back. Oh. Now Now, I'm not going to be able to say a lot of words with that, but I don't really think that's the point of this section. Oftentimes, if you want to find cool deathcore positions, right? Use your clean voice. Don't scream through everything. And the tongue can act as well, not only can, but the tongue really acts as your resonance control, right? Front, back. It's not the only mechanism, but it's the prime mechanism that we use. So this vocal that sounds like a ton of effort. There it is. Really, it's just this with my tongue pulled back and my lips kind of like kind of hard to replicate each time, but he's doing a really great job of it. Nice. All right, I loved that song. That song was sick. Again, if you've got a beautiful outro, let it ride. Now, that's totally a point of personal preference, right? I'm not saying the outro was bad or anything. I loved that outro, and I honestly would have been happy to listen to that for another 2 minutes. Maybe that's just me, but when we have a beautiful outro, like, oh, I just want to float in it. I want to float in it. I want to disappear. His highs were awesome. Like I said before, his highs were awesome. Really, he's done a great job of manipulating the tongue to create a thin little channel and project upwards, right, to really maintain control. And it's very easy once you get it, but it can be very, very difficult to start with. So if you're out there, if you're listening to this song and you're like, oh my God, I want to sound like that, start with the fundamentals first. Start with just a basic false quarter or fry sound, right? Just something very, very simple. Focus mostly on breath control. And honestly, play around with some scales, like some clean singing scales, and do some resonance work. Get kind of used to the concepts of forward resonant, like a high back resonance, right? So you might hear more in like opera or something. And I'm not saying you have to be an opera singer. I'm certainly not. Although I have a channel for you if you do want to be an opera singer, charismatic voice, But anyways, a lot to talk about. We keep going on, but we're coming up on 29 minutes, 28 minutes, and my DSLR records for 30. So Worm Shepherd, Accursed, is an awesome song, and I love it, and it's a vocal expose. Lots to talk about. Again, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you would like some lessons to start this journey of metal vocals, hit me up, email carterbox1010@gmail.com. It takes time, it takes dedication, but if you've got vocal anatomy, you can do it. And check out our Patreon if you want to hang out, have some listening parties, have a good time. Link below. As always, many thanks, much love, I'm out.